Moving on to lesson 37, chemical compounds. What we're going to do when we solve for these chemical compounds, it may look difficult because it looks like chemistry or whatever, but all we're actually going to do is ratio boxes, and I'll show you how we do that. Let's look at example 1. The chemical formula for water is H2O. We have 3,600 grams of water. What is the weight of the oxygen? I'll just kind of put this one on the board so you can see. Ratio box. Well, what we have as our total, this normally is our total. Well, our total in our chemical compound here is the combination of the, what are the, I don't know the chemical word, or chemistry word, but the oxygen and hydrogen, those combined for H2O is actually our total. So our total, I can say, is H2O. And then our other boxes are our other chemicals within the compound. That's probably how to describe it. So we have oxygen, and we have hydrogen. Now, we know how many, we can call this the molecules or whatever within the compound. So here's molecules. I guess I'll use that as the column. And we could say 16 is for O. Now for hydrogen, in our chemical compound, it's H2O. So that means there's two H's. Now one hydrogen value is, one hydrogen chemical is a value of 1. And so if there's 2 of them, you simply multiply it by 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. So the total amount here is 18. 18. Then we look at what else it gives us. And it says the chemical formula is yada, yada, yada. We have 3,600 grams of water. Okay, so I guess this is referring to our grams, our weight. It says we have 3,600 grams of water. So which one of these is water? Not oxygen, not hydrogen, but the third one. So we plug that in. And then we find what we're looking for. It says, what is the weight of the oxygen? So that means we're looking for X. X marks the spot. We can cross out here, and we can solve with a ratio here. 16 over 18 equals X over 3,600. Cross multiply 18X equals 3,600 times 16, 57600. Divide by 18 on both sides, and the amount that is oxygen would be 3,200. So 3,200 would be your answer. So it's pretty simple process there. You just got to stack it in the ratio box. Let's look at one more. The formula for ammonium chloride is NH4Cl. How many grams of chlorine are there in 1,060 grams of ammonium chloride? This one, notice we have actually 3 little components here: nitrogen, hydrogen, and chlorine. So rather than just doing 2, I'm going to add a third blank, because we have nitrogen, hydrogen, chlorine, there's actually 4 hydrogen, within the total compound of ammonium chloride. So we add the 4th box, and then we start plugging stuff in. Get this out of the way. Let's see, nitrogen is 14, hydrogen is 1, but there's 4 of them, so times 4 is 4. You would multiply it. Chlorine is 35, and in the total we have 14 plus 4 is 18, 18 plus 35 is, 39 plus 4, 35 plus 14, 53. Geez, that was tough. Okay, 53. Now look at what else it gives us. Look at your other clue. Is there your other number in there is going to be your other clue. So we find that 1060 grams. 1060, where does this go? Well, let's look at this sentence. How many grams of chlorine are there in 1060 grams of ammonium chloride? So we're looking for chlorine, and 1060 goes in the ammonium chloride spot. So therefore we don't need those. And then we can solve. 35 over 53 equals x over 1060. And we're going to need the calculator on this one. 1060 times 35 is 37,100. That equals 53x. Okay, divide by 53. Mental math. 700. 700 equals x. That's how you do chemical compound problems. Let's look at the next concept. Next concept is just parallelograms, so this won't take long at all. Parallelograms have 4 special properties. You have the pairs of parallel sides, so all these are parallel, or the opposite sides are parallel, but the opposite sides in a parallelogram also have equal length. So we could call that equal. I'm going to kind of put a lot of stuff here. Angles opposite each other have equal measures or are congruent. 2 adjacent angles are supplementary, and we're going to use angles more in that one. And then the last property of parallelograms is that their diagonals bisect each other. So we have 2 diagonals here, and you got to know what the word bisect means. Bisect means that they cut each other in half. So if they cut each other in half, that means this is congruent to this. Okay? Because it's just half. So we could say x plus 2 equals 7. Therefore, x would be 5. And then we could say y plus 7 equals 4. Okay. And then you find that y is -3. So that would be your answer. -3 isn't the side length. That wouldn't work. There's no negative sides. But y would be -3. So that's how you, I mean, that's all there is to that one. Let's look at one more. This one has to do with angles. It gives us a parallelogram. And says find x and y. Well, one property that we stated in the properties on the parallelograms, by the way, are on page 166, and it lists them 1, 2, 3, 4. Property number 2 says angles opposite each other have equal measure. So this angle has the same measure as this angle. So we could say y plus 10 equals 10x plus 50. We could say that. However, we cannot solve for that. There's a y and an x. Let's look at another property of parallelograms. Well, the other one for angles, it says, is the sum of any 2 adjacent angles is 180. Adjacent means next to. So these angles are next to each other. So therefore, they would be supplementary. We could say 5x plus 10 plus y plus 10 equals 180. Well, we can't solve that either because there's an x and a y. But we do have one more. These are adjacent, so they are also supplementary. So we could say 5x plus 10 plus 10x plus 50 equals 180. Now we only have one x or one variable, and we can solve. 10x, 5x is 15x. 10 plus 50, 60. solve from there. Minus 60, 120 equals 15x. Let's see, what would that be? 8. So x would be 8. X would be 8. And then you can figure out how you want to solve for y. I'm going to go ahead and just plug it in right here. So 10 times 8 would be 80 plus 50 equals 10 plus y. 80 plus 50, moved over here, is 130 equals y plus 10. Subtract 10, therefore y equals 120. Kind of flew through that part, but I think you probably got the math. But anyways, those are properties of parallelograms. Make sure to look at the properties on page 166 so you know those. But once you know those, the math part of it is pretty simple. So that is the end of lesson 37.